This is quite the story. Joy Wawrzyniak's father, the war veteran, Douglas De Gea, he died in 2008 in Sunnybrook Hospital in Toronto. He was 88 years old. Now, the hospital had imposed a do not resuscitate law without consulting Mr. De Gea's daughter. She complained to, sued the Ontario College of Physicians and Surgeons. Her case was rejected. She then appealed to the Ontario Health Professions Appeal and Review Board. She was successful twice, more in fact. Tenacious. And she joins us now, and we were chatting. You could speak for hours and hours about this. It's so close and intimate and emotional. We've only got about 7 minutes or so. Your father was in hospital. He was very ill.
Yes.
But the hospital had put a do not resuscitate order on his file. Were you even aware of that?
Not until after he died.
That's illegal, surely.
Yes.
And so after he... No, first, do we know that they did not try to resuscitate? Is that certain?
I was present and witnessed everything.
And they didn't try?
No. They wouldn't. My father did not need resuscitation. He needed breathing support. Mm-hmm. He was weak. He was only 5 days post-op. And he was 88 years old.
Yeah.
And they had made him wait a month for an urgent CT scan, first to determine that there was no other treatment but amputation. And then after that was determined, they made him wait day after day after day for surgery with nothing to eat all day after midnight, and only to be told later in the day, oh, he's not going today to surgery. He can have a sandwich if he wishes it. And so he was getting weaker and weaker while he waited. And
we should explain, you're a nurse.
Yes.
And you know how these things work. I assume you had conversations, if not arguments, with them as this was going along.
I was calling all the time. I visited my father every day. Mm. I was only a phone call away. They could have reached me at any time.
What was the dialogue? What was being said when your father was, and forgive me, these words sound so harsh, but when he was dying in front of you? What were you saying to them? What were they saying to you?
I arrived around supper time on the day he died. And immediately when I walked into the room, I could see he was in respiratory distress. Yeah. He was struggling to breathe. They had put him in a private room. His call bell wasn't working. He was alone. And I immediately called for the nurse. Actually, I had to go out to the nursing station and ask his nurse what he'd had that day, because I was at the hospital 11:30, almost midnight the night before, spoke to a doctor who again confirmed daughter wants full code, and had assured me that everybody would be in Monday morning, my father would be assessed and given treatment, including his dialysis. And so I wanted to know what he'd had done that day on the Monday, and he didn't get the dialysis. They didn't give it to him. And yet he was struggling to breathe. He had fluid. And I had to go and call for the nurse myself. She didn't know. She couldn't answer my questions. Oh, I went to the resident. She couldn't answer my questions.
So incompetence, if not malice, I mean, certainly that there was no care. But then this note, that do not resuscitate, someone had to have written that or ordered it to be written. Do we know who?
Yes, there was two doctors. Dr. Chapman, who is an anesthesiologist, and he works in the ICU department. He wrote the order. I had never met him. I didn't know who he was. Yeah. And he wrote, do not resuscitate. Not only that, he wrote, do not transfer to ICU. So definitely, he did not want to have my father in the ICU. And then Dr. Livingstone, who was my father's most responsible physician, who was responsible for his care, co-signed that order.
Now, again, and forgive me for moving forward like this deserves a whole show, really. After your father passed away, there's the shock, and maybe I've been there too, and the confusion and so on. I assume you asked them, why? Why did you do this? Why did this happen?
I didn't speak to them. After my father died, I ordered them all out of his hospital room.
Understandable.
And I stayed with my father for a while, and then I drove back to Oshawa by myself. And the next day, I phoned the coroner's office, and they recommended that I have an autopsy if I was going to
All right.
pursue this. And so I had to go to the hospital and sign the order for the autopsy, and that's when I asked to see the chart, and I saw the order, do not resuscitate.
Now, you went to the Ontario College of Physicians and Surgeons. They rejected your
It took
case?
it took them a year or more to do to look at the chart and everything, and then they basically supported the doctor and said they hadn't done anything wrong.
And then, so you went to the Ontario Health Professions Appeal and Review Board, which I have to admit I wasn't even aware of.
Yes.
They sided with you.
Yes, they sent it back to the college and told them they had failed to give their reasons, and they hadn't considered the law in Ontario, mainly the Healthcare Consent Act.
Right. The college then appealed this, but lost the appeal?
No, then the college reconsidered their decision,
I see.
which they came back with the same, basically, they
So
just,
effectively
the
they
same
did
decision.
reject it,
They basically did nothing.
And then they were told to look at it again.
And I had to appeal it again.
Right.
And all of this takes time. This started in 2009.
But right now, you've had two decisions effectively in your favor by the most powerful board involved in this. So what happens now?
It's been sent back to the college again. And they've given them reasons in the decisions and told them again to look at this.
What do you think they'll do?
We ask that the doctors be sent to the discipline committee, because it's only through an open hearing that the facts are going to truly come out.
What do you think they will do?
I'm hoping that's what they'll do, but after their track record, I have no idea.
If they refuse to, once again, surely the board that supervises them has to step in and say no. Now we'll take over.
I would have to likely appeal again, and all of this takes time and
money and stress.
Yes,
and
yes.
It's quite incredible.
Yes,
really
and
is.
this is only one aspect of it, because this is dealing with the doctors through their own regulatory body in the way that they're practicing medicine. Aside from this, there's the civil suit.
Oh, and how's that proceeding?
Discoveries are completed,
Right.
and so we're looking at trial next.
This is important for so many people.
Yes.
We're getting older, and look, I'll be absolutely personal. My father, God rest his soul, he died. I mean, there was nothing that could be done in the end, but we were told by doctors who we knew and liked, look, we've now found cancer, and if we operate on the cancer after the second stroke that it had, it wouldn't be good. And we would advise not to intervene. That's different, and we agreed to that.
Right.
But this is an aggressive act. Do not resuscitate. Do not try to keep alive. You're a nurse, you're the daughter, you're the person who had to be consulted. You weren't. It seems to me a very clear-cut case. Other people, what you're doing is remarkable, because I don't believe this has never happened before, and I don't believe this will never happen again.
That's why my lawyer, he said this is very significant.
You're extraordinary. I think your father's extraordinary too. We'll have you back on the show, on this network. You can tell us again what happened. We'll keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.